IVM.
Shunya One, a show on technology by Sheila Aditya, a man who was actually called technology and then renamed at the age of 14. Of course, his number skills or numerical skills are challenged because there's Shunya, there's 1, there's also 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, didn't get to that. But Shunya One, Sheila Aditya. New episodes out on the IVM podcast website, app or wherever you get your podcasts from. Alright, please note that the language and ideas presented on the show might not be suitable for everyone. If you're under 18, make sure your mom isn't around. If you're over 80, why is your mom around?
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
Alright, on Cyrus Says, we meet Arzan. Full name Tarzan. Find out more about this architect who's looking after Parsis all over the world.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
Here on Cyrus Says, I'm just sick of this new trend of people sending jokes all the time. Please understand, just because you think someone is a comedian or likes jokes or whatever, or does that professionally, doesn't mean you have to keep sending them stuff. Imagine if you're a porn actor and all you get is porn from your friends. It's the last thing you want to see, having spent the whole day doing that. So I think just please understand, don't send jokes to people. In fact, don't send jokes anyway. Most of the time, they're just irritating. No more jokes. Jokes have no place in our society under present government. No, just kidding. It's called Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus Says.
All right, here on Cyrus Says, we have Farzan Wadia, which is our fifth Baba. Fifth Baba in 250 podcasts. What a terrible performance by us. Arzan, please send 4 family members as soon as possible in the next 30 days. We have to level up this process. All right, jokes apart, Arzan is an architect, urban designer, makes millions of dollars per year and lives across 2 countries. As of now, was it 3?
No, 2.
2 countries. We'll come to all that. Architect, urban designer based in New York City, where he resides with his wife Shirin. But originally from Mumbai, India, he calls both cities home. So he loves New York City for its progressiveness, for its sense of fashion, for its dynamism, for its aesthetic values. There's some pretty things to look at there. And he likes Mumbai for reasons he will now tell me because I can't understand.
I mean, so Bombay is home, right? I still call it Bombay.
Because you can run away to New York and say, Bombay, 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 what can you do?
No, I think it's just tattooed somewhere on my brain, so I can't get rid of it. But and as much as people say Bombay is a feeling, is an emotion, is not a place, and maybe that is true, but it's also where all my family is, right?
And when your plane lands into Mumbai airport, when it's just circling above, and you see those blue tarpaulins, all across the slums, and you again get that lovely feeling of you're back home. Yes or no? Because that's what I get.
In a way, yes.
Terrible aesthetic appeal.
But I think Bombay airport has one unique thing that I haven't experienced at any other airport in the world. It has a distinct smell. Right? I'm not saying whether it's good or bad.
This is with the plane windows up.
No. I mean, when you get out of the airway bridge, right? I mean, there is this one peculiar smell.
Good, bad or neutral?
I would just say neutral. It's a distinct smell. It's not an odor. It's not a stench. But I don't know what it is. It was there in the old airport at Sahar, and now it's in there in T2
so
also.
So they've moved everything. The smell went with the smell past security check. Happily reached the tarmac.
It doesn't happen in Delhi. I've experienced it in Delhi. Not in Delhi, not in Chennai.
Arzan,
I'm telling
Wadia,
you.
Are you saying there is no smell in Delhi?
No, there is other smell in Delhi.
Not just an architect, I can tell you that. All right. So now let's go right away to the beginning, actually, because you're very much a Mumbai boy. We're joking about Mumbai, but you're very much a Mumbai boy, and you made your fame and reached your, the height of your profession elsewhere, and then came back to Mumbai. But we'll just trace the journey quickly. So, Arzan was born where?
I was born in Parsi General Hospital.
Wow.
I think 2nd floor, the guy and I ward.
You remember, you were 1 day old.
Yeah, because my mom, every time we go to Parsi, she would make sure she'll tell me,
Why do moms do that? The room they remember.
I know,
Only
right?
for them, it's like you played cricket at Lord's. For God's sake, another bloody hospital with another bloody room. Yeah.
So, I was born here. I spent the first 25 years of my life here, and then...
don't fast forward that very quickly. I just want to understand. So, parents, anybody in the architecture?
Everybody. In the architect, my dad's a general contractor, interior decorator, and so I just grew up, going on sites with him, and he used to do this one type of work, which was, a lot of work with Central Bank of India, and
which at one point was the bank.
Yeah, it was the Baba Bank.
Yeah, it was the Baba Bank actually.
And the way banks work is that you can work only from 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning because otherwise they open. So we would land, we would go for a Naujot or a wedding, and then on the way back, Dad would stop at a site where work was going on, and then it was really fun.
That was your weekend movie.
Yeah, and like, go in and you climb ladders, like, because they are all there, and, you get to paint a little bit, and then obviously you do a bought job out of it as a small kid. But I think that was my initiation into
So without doing it, you're already there, sort of, doing these kind of things.
And then architecture kind of just fell in place. I enjoyed doing it. And that kind of opened up a whole vista of, travel.
Rizvi is where you went for college?
Rizvi College of Architecture.
And post that, sorry to interrupt, but post that you go to Graz in Austria. Is this correct?
Yeah.
So
our Rizvi College of Architecture had a collaboration with the Technical University in Graz, and we were the first batch at Rizvi. Our professor Akhtar Chauhan, he had gone to Graz, and he kind of set up this collaboration. So myself and another friend of mine, Gina.
You like win a scholarship? How does that work?
It wasn't. I don't think it was competitive in that sense, but we somehow got selected.
Being a Parsi, you could speak a little German, so they said, "Okay, off you go." Huh? Eins, zwei, drei, vier. Schnell.
So we landed up over there, and it was a 6-month.
What was that like? What were you, 1920?
Yeah, I was about. It was 1997, so I was. Yeah.
And now you're in Austria with all the Fräuleins?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was that glamorous.
How much time did you spend?
I was in Austria for about 6 months. So I was working.
That's a decent amount.
Yeah, I was working with a very
old lady,
leading Austrian, very cutting edge leading Austrian architect, and work was good fun. It was not only just working in his office, but he would let me tinker with his cars. He had an Audi. And he had a Porsche 911 with a Volkswagen engine on it, and I
see you got distracted. Like a good Parsi boy, got distracted by the damn cars. Forgot about the Fräuleins.
No,
spent more time under the Audi than under anything else.
He would let me drive them, so that was pretty cool. And I think
what a picturesque countryside. I've been to Austria.
I know it's
lovely on the eyes, no?
And
no people for miles if you're driving long distance.
And also I think just one of the most gentle people. Yeah. I mean, they have a whole word in their
very straight up and friendly also.
Yeah, and like initially it was like people who just walk on the road, and every time you cross somebody they would say Grüß Gott, which is like hi. And I was like, am I supposed to reply back? And then my friends told me, yeah, you're just supposed to say it back.
So you didn't say Suchalej, Kemcho, all that. You didn't try your local. Had they heard of Parsis?
Not so much, no. The thing is that there were a few people who heard of not Parsis, so to say, but Zoroastrians, and then you had to kind of make the whole...
Just say Zubin Mehta, Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, but you know what? It didn't. The Zubin Mehta angle didn't work there in Graz. Yeah,
one culture enough.
But maybe I think
this is Mozart's area, for God's sake.
I think it could have been the fact that it was a certain generation of people. But the Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche or the Richard Strauss Symphony,
that hits the culture
kind of
once.
Then they say, okay, Zarathustra, yes, and as much as you kind of think about it, Nietzsche's book about.
But that's not really fair because cultured people anywhere in the world would know this.
Right.
It's not about being in Austria. All right, we digress. Let's get back to you. So that experience helps you.
Absolutely.
You get a lot of confidence. You're working in a foreign environment with big names.
But it also kind of brought about the realization that there's a lot more to architecture than what I got over here in 5 years. And I felt that I needed to kind of
What do you mean by that? The utilitarian side of it?
The educational process. I think the educational process over here is still much more, is a continuation of what we do in high school. It's much more
doesn't challenge?
It doesn't challenge you as much, and it's very book-oriented in a way.
Studies, memory.
Yeah, but when you went over there, and I kind of found out that, and this was my last semester, right? I was doing my practical training over there. And I felt that, there was a lot lacking in what I should have known by then. And then I kind of made up my mind that, I wanted to go somewhere. And there was this fascination about New York. So even though I got admission into a college in London, I felt... I'd never been to London, but I just, from whatever I'd seen, I felt that London was too
overdone.
Regional. No, it was too, kind of... It was not as big a global city as, say, New York was.
What are you saying? Really?
Yeah, and then since then I've been
to both
places.
There are no white people left in London.
And since then I've been to both, and I'm thankful that I actually made that decision because I think London is pretty much like Boston. It's got a provincial character in a way. I think New York is more brash. It's just much more like
appealing
a world city.
Yeah.
So so I finagled my way. By the time I decided I wanted to go, admissions.
We have not discussed a very important point here, which is in Austria. Did you go for the topless dancing?
Yes, I did once.
There you go!
Of course.
Arzan, you made me proud. You made me proud.
I mean, you got to experience culture, right? I mean,
yes, drink your stein.
And it's all legal.
And drink your beer. Yeah, it's all legal. It's all legal. Yeah, as long as you don't touch. Yes. Then you're one of those brown skin immigrants that are leaning back. It's always people like us for some reason. Okay, let's move on. So come back with, I suppose, a lot of confidence also because you've seen another part of the world.
Yeah, it is. And then I backpacked. I basically, I didn't, while I was in Austria, then I backpacked for about 2 months. My sister joined me.
Western Europe.
Most of Western Europe, yeah. Yeah, and my sister joined me. She was all of 16 years old
My
then.
God.
And, we had like a harrowing...
When you say backpacked as without planning.
Yeah, we backpacked literally without planning, which was in a way good because, like for example, once we had tickets for the train from Vienna to Berlin, but we didn't have a Czech visa. But I said, you know what, if the train is going through and it's in transit, they'll let us go through. Well, at 1 o'clock in the morning, we are deported off the train.
What are you saying?
And
somebody came and checked?
Yeah, like there was a
we've crossed the line and you don't have a visa now.
Right, because this was pre-Schengen. I mean, it was Schengen in a way. But it was still Czechoslovakia then, and it wasn't part of the Schengen. So at the station, I still remember the name Breklav. The guy comes in, and my sister and I were on the top two berths, and he looks at our passport and he says, get out, right? And so I told my sister, okay, chill, let's get out, let's figure out what happened, right? So we get out, and it's raining like crazy. And so he takes us and two Argentine girls and another Japanese couple, and we're all sitting in this one room.
Without visa.
All without visa, right? But we were all transiting. And so, we are sitting in there, and these Argentinian girls start crying, and I tell my sister, I said, do whatever you have to, but don't cry, right? We'll figure this out. So we're sitting over there, 50 minutes go by, an hour goes by, the guy comes back and says, he puts out his hand and says $100, right? So we said, okay, maybe
for the
he's
visa?
asking... I don't know what it was. He had taken our passports away, and he just comes back and says $100. So I thought maybe it's a bribe, right? So
this is Indian DNA in you, man.
Yeah, I thought paisa khilayega, he'll get away.
It's Europe. They have a lot of bribes.
So I give the money to the guy. Then we wait for another 2 hours after that, and then the guy comes back, and we have a 48-hour transit visa to go through the Czech Republic.
So obviously this happens a lot, and this is a procedure.
I'm guessing so, right? But the thing was...
the Argentinian girls get it?
Everybody got it. All 6 of us got it. Now, the thing was, we had wanted to get... because I was staying over there for 6 months, I went to the Czech consulate to actually get a visa, right? Because I wanted to go to Prague. And they said, because you're Indian citizen, and you're here for some student visa or whatever, you can't apply here. You have to apply in your country of origin.
Oh, God.
So now that I got it, right? So I said, screw Berlin. We'll first go to Prague. We'll spend 2 days in Prague.
Isn't it supposed to be, from an architecture point of view, one of the best cities in the world?
It is. For old architecture, and the unique thing about Prague was that it's one of the few big world capitals that never got touched in World War II, right? So all the buildings just remained the way they were, and then they were too poor to do anything to that building, right? So there was no redevelopment.
Sounds like old Delhi.
And there was no redevelopment at that time, and I remember Prague then, there was no McDonald's, there was no Starbucks, there was none of the American stuff had still come in.
But it's amazing that 200, 300 years ago, a capital city in Central Europe or Eastern Europe for that matter would have a Gujarati name, like Parag. I was just stunned when I heard it for the first time. Parag kahan se aa gaya? That's how the Punjabis call it Parag only. They don't say Prague. Prague. We went to Prague.
So, that was interesting. Then
what an interesting life you had. And then from there?
So then we backpacked. We went to Berlin. We did Prague, Karlovy Vary. Went to Berlin. We had already stopped in Hungary by that time. Amsterdam, Brussels. We landed up in Paris on Bastille Day. So it was, and we were wondering why it was so crowded, and then we were standing at one of the bridges on the side.
Somebody give you a flag.
Yeah, and then they said, you know what, like this is, and that guy told us, don't move from here because we supposedly were at the best place to see the fireworks on the side.
For which people have walked hours to
I know. Like, we literally, I'm telling you.
Are just there.
Yeah, we just landed up there, so we climbed up on the parapet, and I think we were the only 2 people sitting on top of it, and then I think that was our Indian DNA kicking in again.
Viva la France, you can pick it up in 2 seconds.
Then other people all jumped in, and it was good. It was, it was a party. Like, I think they know how to celebrate and do party. I wish we did something like that.
And the thing is, you never feel scared or intimidated. Yeah. They're large crowds, but they're so orderly and happy, and people are warm. Our biggest problem is because there's just too many people, and they go on staring that you're worried you lose your sister, mother, father, everything in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Try to go to the Kumbh Mela. People lose their relatives purposely. They take their relatives to Kumbh Mela and then come back alone. It's the best way to get rid of elderly relatives, I'm told, off the record. Okay, joking. New York.
So then, came back from Graz, and then I said, I have to go to New York, right? And I started looking at options, and the university that I wanted to get into, the admissions had closed, but Pratt was open, and Pratt's the second best, is the second best school of design in New York City, and it had rolling admissions. So I applied got in. I also got into the AA in London, but I said, no, I want to go to New York.
You're still in Austria and all, does that help?
No, this is I'm in India. I'm already back in India. And, I applied and then finally got in, and I said, okay, then I'm going to go. And I think that was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I mean, New York is like no other city. It's if anything, it's like Bombay with all the craziness taken care of.
And better yogurt. I promise you better yoga. The
Which
caramel
one?
yoga. I loved going to the Delhi's just to talk to Korean women in Korean because they would never speak in English. But it was great fun. Two immigrants pointing at things and eating together. Like, yeah.
So, and New York was really, and that was my first time in New York. I'd never been to New York before.
Right.
And I remember telling a friend of mine, Kishore, that I said, listen, dude, I just got out of the subway the very first morning and I was walking around and I was walking with like my, eyes all looking up and like literally staring at the buildings because there is just, avenue after avenue with tall buildings, right?
Yeah.
And this friend of mine is telling me, his boss, don't do that. Somebody will think you Bihar se aaya hai karke.
Why? There's tall buildings in Bihar as well. But did you take those perspective shots which people like to do where they sort of, you're at the foot of a huge building and you pull out and shoot it so the building is in perspective behind you?
Yeah, I mean, and basically, whether you like it or not, all buildings in New York, you will kind of have that, especially
like
in the
dwarf.
avenues in Midtown because there is no other way to kind of capture that. It's just relentless, 50-story skyscraper one after the other. So New York in that sense was great. I think it's a very unique city.
As we go into breaks, Arzan, if you can just give us a vague idea of what you studied at Pratt.
So I studied urban design at Pratt. I was there for 3 semesters. It was a master's
basically what we see in Navi Mumbai today.
A little bit of that. I mean, that's more urban planning.
Navi Mumbai.
Yeah. That's more urban planning. This is more of like smaller urban interventions. So
what does that mean?
Anything from streets to to plazas to smaller scale. Urban planning is slightly at a bigger scale, and it's more planning. It's more kind of mathematical formulas and all of it's kind of formula driven. It's statistics driven.
I suppose you're trying to give me a 4-year course in 4 minutes, and it's going to be very tough. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, urban design is much more like say what happens outside the buildings on a smaller scale.
On the streets and lanes and by lanes. So do you get to actually go there? Do they do practical stuff where they go and you look at things in the way New York, because New York is a spectacular city.
Right,
is
right.
Not?
And New York is like a laboratory. Like, we had a professor and our history of city class was all 13 weeks. We were always outside. We were just walking around and we would actually compare, like, because over 110-year period or 120-year period, New York's gone through this fantastic transformation. And you see parts of New York in other cities all over the world, right? That was kind of the testing ground.
For example, Trump Towers in Mumbai.
Is that your
I think I'm upset, Arzan. We'll take a break and then we'll come back and talk about his contribution to Trump Towers.
Shunyavan, 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 Shunyavan.
$1 billion acquisition. Another copycat startup got formed.
No, the tech world in India is surely moving double the speed of this voiceover.
Tune in to Shunya One every Tuesday to catch us talking to the smartest people we know on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
All right, back here with my good friend Farzan Wadia. There are two sides to him. One, of course, architect, and his interesting story, his journey going through all these lovely cities that he did and the effect they had on him. There's also the other side, which is giving back to the community because he's a very strong Parsi. He remembers his roots wherever he goes. He doesn't forget his Dandal Patya and his Dansak and his what have you, his love for cars. We already know these all the stereotypes which are true, sadly, ladies and gentlemen. I know in the old days, the Bawajis used to put their bikes inside the flats, and you had to explain to your friend when they'll be like, but why is his bike? Why is his Tiger Triumph 40-year-old bike inside the flat on the balcony, polished nicely? I said, you should see his wife. Okay, Arzan, let's move on. So you're in New York, you get your degree, and what do you do with your life next?
So for, I start working as an architect in the city. I also start my own kind of consulting business doing IT work, websites, setting up, servers and stuff like that for design firms, customizing their standards. But it's mostly architecture, and I spent about 9 or 10 years on one project, which is the Bank of America Tower.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean...
9 or 10 years on the Bank of America Tower?
In New York City, and that, it's on the corner...
The Bank of America doesn't exist.
No, Bank of America
still there, right?
Yeah.
I thought with the recession, the Bank of America went down the tube.
No.
But the tower exists, for sure. Huh.
No, the building's also there. And when we started construction for the building in 2003, it was the world's largest LEED Platinum building at 2.1 million square feet. LEED is the energy rating system, and Platinum is the highest level. So, at 2.1 million square feet, we were the largest single building. I think we're still in terms of volume.
Project.
It's a huge project. It was, I was...
Were you ever worried about the size of this project, the magnitude of what you're taking on, the kind of effort it would need?
In the sense, I would... I wasn't but that was mostly out of ignorance because I didn't know what I was getting
Coors
into.
Light beer available, the cheapest beer that I could find in New York City. Am I right?
Yes,
I am right. Wow.
maybe Pabst.
Pabst
Blue.
cheaper?
Yeah.
Damn
Pabst
you!
Blue is cheaper.
Why didn't you tell me?
And Canadian.
But in '94, I used to get $2.69 6-pack. Is that a good deal?
So Pabst beer, I think, till it's like $3 for a six pack. So it's like, I mean, it's like pani gum.
I think even the super rich multimillionaire Indians have this conversation. I think even now till today. Yeah. Sorry. So back to America, you're on this huge project.
Work on this huge project. It was a great, just out of school, kind of great learning experience. Learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes. Did crazy number of hours.
Do you work from an office here? How does one work?
Yeah. So I used to work for a firm called Cook Fox Architects.
What? Slowly, please.
Cook Fox. Two people, Robert Fox.
With the American accent,
Richard
it was
Cook.
something else. I got worried here. Cook Fox Architects.
Right. And so, we do this building and it had whole bunch of energy features which were very new at that time, which are now just commonplace.
Like the solar energy and the reusable energy things.
Funnily, yeah. The renewable energy, we were generating our own energy on site through, gas furnaces. Collecting rainwater, basically purifying the air that was coming in, and then what we were throwing out was purer than what was coming in. So our
this is what we need for Mumbai, by the way. Huh?
I know.
You should really take over the whole city.
And a lot of other things. Individual thermostat controls. So in a huge floor plate, generally you have one AC control one place, and in the summer you'll find especially women wearing sweaters and sitting because it's too cold. This we decentralized control. So every 6 feet there was a vent in the ground that basically you could turn on and off like the vent of a car.
So individually,
right? You could control your you could control your microclimate.
This works again for us. We have big families, 40 people in the house. We need these kind of things for India. Please keep that in your mind. Yeah.
So a lot of cutting edge work over there. Did other projects. Did a visitor center in Siem Reap in Cambodia. For the Angkor Hospital for Children, and just an overall good experience, wide experience of work. And at that point, I also took more interest in the IT side of things. I think it just came naturally to me.
So you became an American citizen by now?
No. I'm a green card holder.
A green card holder.
Yeah,
you're keeping options open. Is it the last election that upset you a little bit?
Let's not get there. But yeah, for sure.
Which one are we talking about, Indian or American?
No, I think the American one for sure. No, but I think I don't agree with the idea of renouncing my passport. So I'm waiting for India to actually have dual citizenship where I can keep both passports.
My sister's the same issue. There's some kind of emotional connect which is stopping her from giving
because
it up.
See, the only reason, the only benefit I would get just now by becoming a citizen is vote. And I really didn't want to vote.
And lines in airports.
No, but all of that is sorted out because now I have global entry where I don't even meet a person. I just go to a kiosk, show my face, put my fingerprints, show my green card, and I'm out in 10 minutes.
So you're a global citizen. The rest of us stand in lines like monkeys. But monkeys don't do lines. Sheep.
In that sense, it's, there's no major advantage of being a citizen per se. So I think if I was a citizen, it would be easier to travel to other countries. The number of visas that you need is much less. But other than that, I'm okay.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come back to that. Let's try and figure out now the other side to you. All right, as your career is growing leaps and bounds, you're doing really well, and you've got this two-city commitment. You always want to come back to Mumbai, where your roots are. Where did this need for you to, sort of explore and help the community come from?
So, in about 2003 or 4, there was a time when I'm a current affairs junkie. And so I would just read and I would find articles about Parsis, interesting articles, and I would forward them to people by email.
Would the article say 2 more Parsis found in Mexico? Something like that?
Anything that had any connection with Parsis, right?
Yeah.
And I would start forwarding them to people and friends, and once in a while somebody would tell me, can you send me that article you send me? I can't find it in my email, right? And so at that point I said, why don't I put it up on a website that it'll stay for posterity? And so that was the birth of Parsi Khabar, which I run as an online portal. It's the oldest news portal on Parsis in the world, so to say. And most of it is news aggregation. So 70% of it is
pull it from here, then
yeah,
everywhere.
I pull it from here, then everywhere, and then disseminate it.
Do you write any stories?
And then 30% of it is user-generated content. So I write or I kind of invite. If I see something, if I see something interesting, I'll invite people to write.
Either on Parsis or by Parsis.
Yes, it's on Parsis or by Parsis, and that has been now we are in our 13th or 14th year, and through that I've met like amazing people which I don't think I would have ever met. People like Sunit Arparwala, right?
We've had her on the podcast.
And basically that's her. I mean, she got me in touch with you guys, and so a lot of other people, and not only in North America but even over here in Bombay. And that really helped, just keeping myself in touch and ingrained with what's happening with the community world over. So, it's helped me in stay in touch with the community, whether it's Parsis in India or it's...
11 million page views, is that a correct figure?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, in 14 years.
Yeah, but still, 11 million, because the community is what, 80,000, 90,000?
Yeah, but I think it's not only the community,
Obviously
right?
It's not.
We've got a Facebook page.
So we have a market.
We have a market.
Non-Parsi ladies, if you're listening.
The funny thing is that there is a whole nostalgia market which are non-Parsis who love Parsis, right? So they all jump
grew up in our part of the world
and basically they are like, they have all these good ideas.
This has happened to you. I have so many people who come up to me and say, I love Parsis. I don't think there's any other community where people, a guy from another community will come up and say, I love, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're like, do whatever you have to do, increase the number.
How can we help? Test tubes, can we design things?
And so, it's been a great journey on that. What I do is, I think, is that I kind of give people a platform to voice their opinion. So I carry personal op-eds as long as they're not... you're not slandering somebody.
So you're just opening a forum. Basically, you're not trying to take judgment calls.
Right, absolutely.
Push
Absolutely.
agendas. I get that. Serving your fourth term, and this I say with due respect, the board of the Zoroastrian Association of Greater New York. When we struggle to put 50,000 in Mumbai, what kind of lobby do you have in damn New York where you can go with the board of the Zoroastrian Association of Greater New York?
So, in North America, the Zoroastrian community is basically structured as, as local associations. Mm-hmm. So for the Greater New York area, which is New York, New Jersey.
So how many are there?
So at Zagni, our current actual membership is about 600 families.
Are you kidding? That much?
Yeah, we built a brand new Daremer, which just opened up last year in March in 2016.
So 2,000, approximately 2,000?
Approximately 2,000 Parsis,
That's huge. I'll ring a bell for that. Ding, 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 ding.
In fact, next time you're in New York, you should come and see
our
Daremer.
I had no idea. I would never believe. I don't think anyone would believe there were 2,000 Parsis in New York.
And I have some pictures. I'll forward them to you. I mean, so, it's an active community. There are third generation of kids who are there already. Who are coming to religion classes and just, we do everything from Jamma. Yeah, we do Jamma Chaloji and we do like Parsi nataks and Kerana Patra.
Parsi caterers.
Yeah, we have actually. In fact, and
is the food still the same?
The food is pretty much the same.
Really? Will I get a kid gosht in New York?
You may not get it. You may not get it at a restaurant, but when we do the Jamma Chaloji, then people serve it. And then we have restaurateurs. Yeah, and we have restaurateurs. We have Jangir Mehta, who was on the America's Iron Chef. He was the losing finalist.
Is it?
Yeah, Bombay boy, grew up in Bombay and now is like a Michelin star chef.
What are you saying? Wow.
He's got 2 or 3 restaurants.
But does he have a market for Parsi food? Bonu, I'm saying.
So I think he doesn't cater Parsi food as such. Yeah, but he'll do it for special occasion. Exactly, right? So if you call him up and he'll cater for events.
Well, very interesting. Then you also are the vice president of Fezana. Take us through that.
Right. So in 2016, I stood for elections and got elected to Fezana. Fezana is the umbrella organization for all the associations. So there are 26 associations all over North America, and Fezana is the umbrella association
so
for
the committee on top of everybody else, which runs everybody.
Right. So Fezana kind of is run like a federation. So
do you have as much money as the panchayat?
I wish, man. I wish. Because we could really do wonders with that kind of stuff. But
we should tell the panchayat to give you some money. 2,000 Parsis in New York.
Listen, I think we have enough fights. There'll be enough Parsi. Bombay Parsis coming and starting to bash the Bombay Parsi Panchayat if they do that. So what Fezana does is it's been around for 30 years. This is our 30th year of existence. And we kind of push the Zoroastrian. We are the Zoroastrian voice in North America. And over the years, there are now 25,000 Zoroastrians in an unscientific, population count within North America, which is not bad. And that includes both Parsis as well as Iranian Zoroastrians from Iran. And, Navroz is the de facto big day, and now more and more people are kind of getting onto, the whole fact of Navroz. Sadly, what's happening with the media is that the media kind of takes that and says that, see, you remember Big Bad Iran? It also has a great festival called Navroz, right? So that's how they kind of sell the story.
Usually unpopular in America, unfortunately.
Right, so which is kind of a little weird, but Fezana takes stand on social issues, like, when the Turkish Prime Minister went about saying that Zoroastrians are all, like, people of the devil. We actually,
Did he say that?
Yeah, he went to Kurdistan and he kind of said, like, the Zoroastrians are all the people of the devil, and because the Kurds are trying to break away from Turkey and they're also from Zoroastrian descent, right? So that was his way of kind of
What kind of guy? He's worse than Kim Jong-un. I won't let him into India. Note to Modi ji.
So,
don't allow Turkish president here.
We protest there. We wrote to the, the consulates, and I'm not sure what really comes out of it.
His country's called Turkey. What's he talking about? It's named after a bird. Really. Sorry. So before we wind this up, I want to ask you a couple of slightly controversial questions. What is Arzan Wadia's solution for the dying race? You're an architect also. You're a planner. You're a visualizer in a sense. So you've got the skills. What should we do?
I think
and you build erections, which is very important.
So I think the solution cannot be one folded. I don't think there's one quick answer to the whole mystery. Yes, dwindling populations is the issue, but I think it's also who you call a Zoroastrian. How do you define who a Zoroastrian is? And I think that struggle in North America, we've already crossed the bridge. So, like for example, at my home association at Zagni, if any parent is a Zoroastrian, is good enough, right? So kids have their navjots done. They become members of the community.
Happily, you have a everybody attends.
Absolutely.
No controversy. Nobody puts placards outside.
And on the other hand, like in India, we still have the patriarchal kind of system. And sure, to each their own. I'm not judging whether one is right or wrong. And over here also, the panchayat is basically democratic.
The Jews have the matriarchal system. I'm stuck to that.
Which I think, in hindsight, was probably the better way to do it.
That's apples and oranges.
Yeah. But so I think whatever the generation over here, it's a democratic society over here
in India.
In terms of elections of the Bombay Party,
you all will prosper and become more and more, and we will dwindle and die.
But that is really what is happening. A lady, Roshan Rivetna, she did this demographic study and presented a paper over the years, and basically India's loss is North America's gain. So you can literally see it for the same number of years.
Your liberal views will save somebody.
I think it was also the whole migration, in the 50s and 60s, where people went and went for education, for betterment, and kept the religious values in a way. So it's...
Arzan, I'll ask you a more controversial question, and I want you to answer this correctly. Why is it that when Parsi Bonu is non-veg, why is it that we are forced to feed veg people veg as well? I don't get that. Because when you go to a veg wedding, nobody gives you non-veg. So why do Parsis still go out of their way to serve veg food to veg people when their food is traditionally non-veg?
Because we are democratic.
You're too liberal, Arzan. No, but draw the line somewhere, I say.
Yes, I agree with that. But if somebody asks me what am I, so I say I'm strictly non-vegetarian only. And they ask me why, and I say because the doctor said so.
Yeah, fair enough. Or you hate plants. That's always the best thing to say. Arzan, it's been a wonder talking to you. All the best with your life. I know you've achieved a lot in both phases of your life, which is giving back to the community, keeping it alive in another part of the world altogether, as well as an architect and a planner. So thank you. Is something you want to say? Please do.
So, I also help run the Zoroastrian Return to Roots program.
Oh.
And that is basically we are starting. We're on our fourth trip, and what we do is it was an interesting program started by 4 young youth based out of UK, USA, and India, where we bring it's style on the Birthright Israel program, where we bring young Zoroastrians between the age of 22 and 35 for a 15-day trip to India. So we are starting our next trip on December 22nd.
And these guys have never been to India?
So they could have been to India, as kids or whatever.
Speaking, the routes would be Iran now. So shouldn't you go to India, then Iran? And
so we will eventually go to Iran. The geopolitics of America, because we get a lot of Americans on it, right? So just now the geopolitics don't allow us to go to Iran easily.
If you went from India, there's no problem. But if you go from America,
yes,
even though you're through India, sort of, it is.
Correct. So we bring these youth and we expose them on a 12 to 15-day trip in India. So, social, religion, culture, all kinds of heritage,
traffic, spitting, dust, smell at the airport, vegetarian food,
an attack on all the senses,
strange festivals, attack on all senses. Too many people, touching, violating proximity, all the lovely things that make us happy.
And they go back with a sense of renewed pride, because when you grow up as a Zoroastrian, you really you're not walking down the street and all of a sudden you see an ashofar on the side of a building, right? And people get all blown away, or go to an
It's difficult for them to explain to the other people around them who they are, because there's just no references.
And what happens is that all parents are nostalgic, so they'll say, when I used to go, as a kid, go to Udwara. Now they are in Udwara, right? Or we take them to Nargol, or we take them to Sanjan or Surat.
And in all these places, there's good food. Remember that.
Oh, yeah. In fact, by the end of it, there's so much of Parsi food. So people say, if we had a choice, today can we do pizza, please? Because it's 12 days. It's 12 days of non-stop, patrani machi and
bread with something on top.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, Arzan, more power to you. Thank you for being on the show. But we have to slip into the AMAs right here.
Tired of the shrill madness of primetime television? can't make sense of your morning newspaper anymore?
Then take a break to delve into some real conversations about policy, politics and economics.
Join me, Pavan Srinath,
And me, Hamsini Hariharan.
as we analyze news and views from India and the world and talk to experts on a wide range of issues on the Pragati podcast.
Episodes out every fortnight.
You can find us on the IVM Podcasts app or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
So Arzan is with us for the AMAs, and joining us is Naveen, our producer.
Yes.
Lovely man.
Hi.
Hi, Naveen.
I'm glad to be sitting with half the Parsi population of Bombay right here.
Planned that joke from last night.
Yes, I was
Don't laugh.
thinking of
In 4 hours doing this.
You know me too well, Cyrus.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, in a hotel room, after I've turned off every switch and yet there's a light bulb glowing, would that be a wise thing to do? Like, let the light bulb glow? Or should I yell at the maintenance or destroy that bulb?
Wait, this should go to our
Vishnu Priya.
architect in a sense, because it is a part of his world as well.
Call the maintenance.
Call the maintenance. He's like, should I destroy the bulb entirely? I'm
My
like,
question
no.
is, why would you even bother sending this question in? What kind of life and what kind of social awkwardness allows you to have this kind of situation?
Vishnu Priya is inquisitive.
This Vishnu Priya is driving me mad. Next one.
Alright, next one. What is the one thing you always tell your kids? Do they take anything that you say seriously? Aniket
I
Paul.
always tell them, if you have to spit in public, don't spit on someone who's a right-hander.
Why?
I just feel it's bad luck. This is just one of my maxims. I have many.
But who spits on people?
But, don't waste it on the road. Roads have to be looked after.
No, don't spit
Between
on
the people in the roads, you can ask the architect here. Let's look after our roads. Am I right?
Arzan, what is the advice you give?
What do you tell your kids?
So I don't have kids, but if I did, basically I'll tell them, spit so that you don't get caught.
Even in America, in Canada, where you are?
Yeah.
With all your...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
I mean, do whatever.
People
Just don't
spit
get...
there?
People don't spit there so much, but I've seen a lot of people, as much as you would think not, pee on the road. Right? I mean, people just get off the car and pee. Like I've seen.
But I'm a big fan of that. I'm like, if there's no toilet, what are you supposed to do?
But in New York.
In New York, yeah. I've seen.
New York is not the cleanest place in the world.
I know. It smells
Let
like.
me tell you.
Like I've seen people on the bridge, right? I mean, jam-packed traffic on the bridge is
Instead
not
of
moving.
committing suicide,
yeah,
they pee.
the guy just gets off. And you know what the cool thing about that is? That that you're doing it in front of 100 people, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's seeing you.
With their
But
cameras.
you're supremely anonymous, right? Nobody knows you.
Yeah.
How do you care?
And what kind of person shoots somebody taking a little,
Yeah, I mean, like in
Amir Khan will come. Have you seen that ad? Remember?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Aditi Dev
I've seen Akshay Kumar's full film called Toilet.
But I always feel like there's a dilemma with me with regards to like people who spit pan. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But then once in a while, if I have phlegm in my throat, I'll have to
Why can't you just swallow your phlegm?
No.
Of course, it's
Like
your
you taste
phlegm.
it coming out and then go back inside. It's
I don't care about
disgusting.
all that. It's not an ice cream, for God's sake. But why should your phlegm corrupt my world? And not the road. I said do it on a person.
But it's not leaving any color.
The
It's just going
person
to-
will take a bath and it'll get washed out,
Exactly.
right?
Because we don't really care about the person. We want to save the world as in terms of furniture and design.
I do not want the phlegm to
architecture.
come out the wrong way, is what I'm saying.
Your latest flame, to quote Elvis. Come on, next.
Alright, last question. Cyrus, you're a fitness freak from the upper half. That's my addition.
I squat 400 pounds. Huh? That's
So
not
why
fair.
don't you ask your friend Kunal to work out with you? Ashish Rana.
This is a
was
stupid
asking.
question again, because Kunal has no interest. I don't like to force people to do anything. I like working out, I work out. He doesn't like working out, he doesn't work out. On the other hand, he likes to spend time under buffaloes, looking at the inner parts. Everybody has their own fascination for life.
One of the first few pictures I saw of you
I'll tell you
together.
honestly, a lot of people get along better when they don't have things in common. Usually when you have things in common, you think it's a great way of being friends and all. I really think sometimes if you don't, it's even better.
But what
you
do
never
you
get
have?
into each other's space.
Yeah.
You sort of, you just live, coexist.
You never have to make conflicting decisions.
We don't.
See,
on
I've
the
seen
same
you and
thing.
Kunal
He has no
together for a
interest in-
bunch of times now. And okay, you take his case all the time and he's just grumpy
No,
and
I
angry
take
all
his
the time.
case because by nature he's an introverted, shy, irritated, intolerant, angry, prejudiced, malicious man.
And you're everything that is not the same.
I'm a little less.
Yeah.
Of exactly the same.
Alright, so last question is from Aniket Paul again. What do you think about ISL in general? The Indian...
The
Super League?
football?
No, is that a
Indian Soccer League.
India's
Yeah.
Soccer League.
I thought it was cricket.
See, my son is a Liverpool freak.
Okay.
And he has Parsi genetics. So what happens with us is, if you like something, it's very extreme. I'm sure Arzan will explain that. And what happens is, so he follows Liverpool. And so now we all follow Liverpool. Because he cries, he faints, he screams. I mean, I can't explain it to you.
That
And it's
obsession is
Liverpool, somewhere in
pure,
North
yeah.
bloody England. We've never been there and have no connection with them except that we all love the Beatles.
No,
and it's...
But in your son's case, we have, right? Because Apri Rani, right?
Apri Rani.
It's about the queen. Man.
Well, Apri Raja now, no? Because sooner later is
exactly. So I mean, at least for Parsis, he can be forgiven.
Yeah, he can be forgiven.
But I don't. I've never understood
madness over this.
I've never understood the whole fascination. Like, I mean, Indians have over Manchester United.
Yes,
and like,
there's no connection. There's not even one brown skin player or Parsi player or anything.
They have screenings in a bar now. Like, and if you go to these bars, there are all these testosterone-induced men who are just like screaming their lungs out. I can't do that. Like, I want to go to a quiet place and drink, and that's the whole.
It's not even like Manchester United comes here and plays, right? I mean, if they play in India, I can understand.
India's football team will play a qualifier against Myanmar.
Right.
At the same time, nobody's watching it. Yeah. But Man U derby versus Man City, and everybody's glued and going mad.
Yeah,
mad with passion
and spending very boatloads of money in the bar.
This is another sociological phenomenon somebody should look at before our country.
Why only football? There are better games.
That's your point?
Kabaddi is better. Kabaddi is amazing. I think Kabaddi should be on the
I'll play Kabaddi, but I want girls. Because I have to throw myself on people and I don't want to do it on men. Sorry, Naveen.
You need cushioning is what you need.
I just feel more comfortable with the ladies.
Cool, that's it. That's it all from the AMAs.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you and good night. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you, we need you. If you have any questions, write to us online and you can mail us as well. We will answer. We have a doctor in the house called May.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.